this is Jessica Brigden of Jess B Creative Cardiology, and I want to thank you for joining me for my first ever online video class as part of my class kits to go. And so today we have the Dragonfly Dreams coloring card class. And this class, I've got all of the supplies that you'll need for your class laid out here. And so the class is going to make these 4 cards. So you're going to make 2 of each of these 4 designs. And I've got everything here. The class is based on the Dragonfly Dreams bundle from the Spring Occasions catalog. So you've got the Dragonfly Dreams stamp set and the coordinating framelits. We are doing some watercoloring. So we have the watercolor pencils, and then we've also got the inside the lines coloring designer paper from the Sale A Bration catalog. All right, so I've got all of our materials here, and you should have received your class kit to go. So I have everything for each of the cards tucked in the envelopes here. So I'm going to walk you through each of the cards, and then you can rewind this and watch it as many times as you like as you work along. Okay, so we've got our 4 ink pads that you'll need. We have our archival basic black, melon mambo, rich raspberry, and Bermuda Bay. Okay, we've got our watercolor pencils and our blender pens. You'll need some dimensionals and some mini glue dots, your snail adhesive, your paper snips. We've got our bone folder, our foam mat, and then of course our stamp set, the framelits, inside the lines paper, and our Stampin' Scrub and Stampin' Mist. Okay, so let me clear the work area and we will get started with card number 1, and that is the Melon Mambo Dragonfly card. Okay, so card number 1 here, so that we can see this, I'll set it right up here in the corner. Now in your kit, if you pull out the elements, you'll need the Melon Mambo cardstock. Comes with a sheet of basic black, your whisper white. I've already die cut your dragonfly for you, but I will show you how I did that, and a piece of the inside the lines paper. So the first thing you'll want to do is go ahead and fold your cards. You can do this for all of your card bases actually if you want to work ahead. So folding our cards, we are going to adhere the base layer. So this is the basic black. Remember the bumpy side up. I put a little bit along each side and a dab in the middle. Nothing too technical here. All right, and you should have about a 1/4 inch border on each side. Just make sure your card actually opens correctly. Okay, now set that aside, and we're going to adhere the inside the lines paper to the whisper white. So I think I will have you assemble all of your cards first, and then you can color them at your leisure. So we're going to adhere the inside the lines paper flush with the bottom of the whisper white. Just make sure it lines up along the sides, and we're leaving that open. Okay. And then we'll take a piece, I've already die cut cut this, but this is your Melon Mambo ribbon. I put a little bit of snail adhesive on each of the ends, and this is my trick, is you're gonna take that adhesive, put it across the seam there, and then we're gonna fold it over to the back. So just make sure it's straight, okay, and then it's taped to the back. That way you don't have any ribbon poking out the sides or showing when your card is finished. Again, put your adhesive on there, and we're going to layer that on top of our card base. Okay, so you have 1 piece of ribbon. We will adhere that later for our bow, and then the piece to die cut. Okay, so I've got my Big Shot, and I'm using my magnetic platform along with the precision plate. This is great for those really detailed dies. All right, get some things out of my way here. Okay. All right, so my precision plate here. Now with this, you do not need both base plates, just one. So I'll lay down my cardstock, and then I've got my Dragonfly dies. Now you could use whichever ones, but I have used the smallest of the detailed dragonflies. We're gonna go ahead and lay that on here. Okay, put our clear plate on top. Make sure your plates are square as you go on the Big Shot, and you're going to crank away. Now I do recommend, I'm gonna move this here so I can see it. Okay, going through all the way once, back out, going through a second time, okay? These dies are super detailed and we wanna make sure we get them all fully cut out. All right. And look at that, pops right out. Now go ahead, I've included the negative piece if you'd like to save that. I have a little bonus project for you at the end if you'd want to save those pieces. And then I've used this is the Big Shot die brush. It comes in this little rectangle box. It actually fits perfectly in one of the wood mount clear stamp cases. So I've gone ahead and put it in there. We'll take our die and lay it on top. And then we've got our brush and we are going to brush all over it and see how those little pieces fall out. This is amazing. Now I do keep my paper piercer in here as well for some of those little pieces that don't quite come out, and that'll help me pull it right out of there. Look at that, super clean. One little piece fell right out. Okay, and then just a couple other little pieces. You can run over that with your die brush if you like. And that way all of these little pieces, they are actually technically called chads, and these fall right there into our little bin, keeping your craft area nice and clean. Okay, pull out the rest of those. All right, so that is good to go. I'll set this aside. And now we're ready to adhere it to our card. So I'm going to use a portion of a dimensional. So I use every single little bit of my dimensionals. So I'll go ahead and cut an edge and adhere that right in the center of our dragonfly body. And then that is ready to go anywhere on your card that you like. I've included some rhinestone jewels there, the adhesive ones. They do come in a full sheet, so you get all the sizes, but I've cut out exactly what you need. So we're going to take the larger ones. I use the tip of my scissors here, and that way the adhesive peels off with them. Put them 3 on there. I like to add a little bling to our dragonfly. Okay. So that was the largest size, and then I'm going to take the medium and 2 small and just add a little more pizzazz to my card. Okay, so that is card number 1. You can set that aside or you can continue to color that, but I'm going to set that aside for now and we'll come back. Okay, so card number 2. This is the Old Olive and Rich Razzleberry card. So for that, you have your Old Olive card base. So we're gonna go ahead and fold that if you haven't already done so. Okay, now I believe in your kits I did include a layer of Rich Razzleberry, so you would put that on here. And then we'll go ahead and take our inside the lines paper, adhere it to the white. I don't want my cards to fall apart, so I do tend to add a little more adhesive than is often necessary. Again, we're gonna take a piece of the ribbon. This is the rich raspberry. And actually, before I glue that, decide if you want the polka dots up or down. So since I've already put my tape here, we're gonna be doing polka dots up on this card. You can see on my sample, I did the polka dots down. You can do whatever you like. Again, put that right over the seam. It tapes behind. Add our adhesive. So I do my ribbon like that first and add the knot later because it's much easier to put your adhesive over a flat surface than it is over the bump that's made by the bow. So we'll do that first. Okay. All right. Now before we make our bow, we'll stamp our sentiment. And now there's several sentiments that would work here from the stamp set. To a wonderful friend, enjoy your special day, you sure know how to make someone happy, thanks for the smile and everything else. And so I think I'm going to use this one, enjoy your special day. And so I've got my rich raspberry ink. Now for this is block, they have little alphabet numbers on the side, so this is block D. And I'm going to go ahead and ink that up. Just a little tap, tap, tap. These are the firm foam pads, so they're nice and juicy. All right, and then stamp that right on there. And voila. Okay, set that aside to be cleaned. Now you can add your ribbon. So again, depending on which side you want up. I did this one with the polka dots, so I'm going to slide it in with the plain side facing up. And then go ahead and tie it just in a simple knot. Try to keep them flat and then pull it tight, and you can readjust that tail if you like. Now that should stay just like that, and then you can trim it up. Now I love my ribbon scissors here. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up no longer carries them. So if you do have a pair of fabric shears, those would work nicely. Okay, so we are ready for our dragonfly. Now in your kit, I included a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of Whisper White cardstock. You may have wondered what that was for. Well, Stampin' Up's policy allows us to include all of the pre-cut pieces, but no stamped images. So you do have to stamp your own dragonflies. So we are using the detailed dragonfly stamp, and then we'll use the wing stamp to color him in. Okay, so I've got my dragonfly stamp here. And again, because these are photopolymer, they do not have the cushion that the rubber stamps have. So I've placed that beneath my cardstock. And I'm going to use the archival basic black. If you have the old Stampin' Up basic black ink, that would work fine. Or even the Memento ink, the Memento black would work fine with that as well. It is not recommended to use StazOn with photopolymer stamps. So that's why I recommend the archival. Now the archival, as well as the Memento, these are actually the linen pads. You can see the strings here. So you do need to apply a little bit more pressure. Make sure you've got full coverage on your stamp. Okay, because you can kind of see in the center there, it doesn't always like to come out as clear as it should, as we like it. Now that looks better. Okay, so we're going to place that. I believe if I did this correctly, you can stamp 4 dragonflies out of this one sheet of cardstock. So we'll get up here close to the corner, and we're going to apply firm pressure and hold for 1, 2, and 3. And then lift it up slowly. Okay, that came out great. So actually, while you're at it, let's do this 3 more times. And then not only will you be prepared for this card, but you'll also have your images stamped for the next one as well. Okay, so we're gonna stamp the next one right up there next to it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, peel up slowly. Okay. All right. May not get them all out of here. Okay. So the framelits are gonna cut close to the images here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, so I don't quite have room. Oops, sorry about that. My recording skills are being developed here. Okay, so we've got Dragonfly stamped. Now for 2 of them, I'm going to use the Rich Razzleberry ink. And we're going to use the wing stamp. Now the wings fit perfectly on block H. This is the rectangle one. So again, these are the foam, so a little tap, tap, tap. This is a 2-step stamp, so we stamped our outline. Now we'll stamp our solid image. Okay. Now I want 2 of these. Okay, then I'm going to clean my stamps. I'm going to close the ink. Okay. And I'll get my Stampin' Mist and go ahead and clean these. Okay. Now you will notice your stamps, the photopolymers, do pick up a little bit of the color. So this stamp set, this is clean, but it is a little pinkish. The blacks, the purples, and the reds tend to stain the stamps just a little bit, but that does not affect their quality or their stamping. And actually it's a little helpful because then when you lose them on a white surface, you can actually find them again. Okay, so this is Bermuda Bay for our other dragonfly here. Okay. All right, and if you have a scrap of Whisper White, we're going to want to stamp and do another Bermuda Bay dragonfly as well. Okay, and then clean these. I do like to clean my stamps as we go along. It does help prolong the life of them and prevents the ink from staining any worse. So go ahead and scrub them on the one side, dry them on the other. Okay, the black does stain, but nonetheless it is clean. Okay, with your Stampin' Scrub, if you have the newer version, they do have a little code. Down here there's some little water droplets, and then in the corner on this side is a little sunshine. I really don't pay attention to that. It dries, so just whichever way I grab, I spritz one side, use the other to dry. And you can actually, you take this to your kitchen sink or a utility room, wherever you wash up, put a little bit of dish soap. I use the Blue Dawn, squirt a little bit on both sides, and then warm water. Scrub it all out. You'll see the color fall from your Stampin' Scrub. And then once the water runs clear, then I make a little teepee in my sink and let it dry overnight. Okay, so that is just a little tip for your Stampin' Scrub there. Okay, so now that we've got our images stamped, we're going to want to die cut these. So I will bring my Big Shot back out here. Okay, lay my cardstock down. This time we're using the solid framelit. Again, make sure that you put the edge side down. And we'll line that up on here. Okay, just like so. And then we will crank it through. Now this one you only need to run through once because it's not nearly as detailed. Little snap, crackle, pop, that's okay. These are normal. You can see my plates are well loved. You can get a little crack. It does not affect the functionality. I do try to rotate my plates so that I don't always use the same one on the top and bottom. I just grab them at random and run them through. And that helps them to last a little bit longer. And then pop that out. And here we've got our dragonfly. All right, so we need a rich raspberry one for this first card. I should have cut that out first. Okay. Again, just make sure your plates are square as you run through the Big Shot. A little snap, crackle, pop. Okay. Don't be afraid of the noises your Big Shot makes. Okay. All right, and then we can die cut the third. All right, so we're set with our die cutting for right now. Bring back my card base, and I've got my dragonfly. Now you probably want to color this first, but either way, we will again use a little half section of dimensional for this card. All right, cut that. Put it right there in the widest part of the body. Okay, and adhere that on our dragonfly. Now, if you'd like to add a little sparkle, it looks a little plain to me. This is Wink of Stella. This is the clear Wink of Stella. And Stella is the glimmer pen. And it's just got some clear shimmer in here. And I'm just going to take that and brush it over the wings here. Yep, you can see. Now Stella will blend your ink just a little bit. So do it lightly. Okay, you can use it to color in any of the edges if, there you go. Okay, and then it adds just a little bit of shimmer. So pretty. Okay, so that is Stella. All right, I'll set this one aside to be colored as well. Okay, card number 3. This is the Bermuda Bay and Lost Lagoon card. There we go, straighten it out a little bit. All right, so our supplies for this, we have our Bermuda Bay card base. Go ahead and fold that. Okay, we will adhere our layer of Lost Lagoon. Yeah, there's my tape runner. Okay, so when I cut cardstock, our card bases, I cut everything usually from a 8.5 by 11 sheet of standard cardstock. And so the card base is just that piece of cardstock cut in half. This is 5.5 by 8.5. And it's scored, or when you score it, folded in half there, then this section is 4.25. So when I cut my layers, I usually come down by 1/4 inch. So if my card base is 4.25 by 5.5, then my first layer is going to be 4 by 5.25. And that gives me a 1/4 inch border all around. So my second layer, so we had 4.25, then we had 4. Second layer is going to be 3 3/4 by 5. And again, we can go ahead, this card doesn't use any ribbon, so we can go on ahead and adhere our designer paper down. Okay. All right, we've got our Bermuda Bay Dragonfly. Another little section of the dimensional. This makes your dimensionals go a long way. Okay, peel that off there. Now, however you want this to fly, I think that looks good. I'll put it right there. Now, because I used the large section of the inside, the lines paper, they're 12 by 12 sheets, and I've cut them down. So each one of these is going to be a different section of that patterned paper. So they will all be different, no worries on that. But that one, quick and easy. If you'd like, add a little bit of Stella. Give it a little shake to begin with as you gently squeeze the barrel. Okay, and then we'll apply a little shimmer to the wings. Just a little bit of sparkle. Okay. Yeah, so pretty. It's hard to see, but yeah, there you go. Got some shimmer going on there. Okay, so that one's ready to set aside and be colored. And now moving on to our fourth and final design here. This one is using Tempting Turquoise, Chocolate Chip, and then a fourth pattern of the Inside the Lines designer paper. And again, this sheet, I will show you the full sheet. It makes a gorgeous scenery. Oops, do I have a piece of it here? Yes, okay. So this is so neat. This is the finished pattern. And so if you were to color this entire sheet, I think you should frame it. It's just so pretty. But as I cut this, so some of you will have dragonfly and mushrooms. We've got part of the mountains and the sky. Some of the patterns are coming out as more leaves and tree, perhaps the ferns. Now, whichever section you got may affect whether you want your card to go vertically as this one, or if you've got a cross section, you may want to even turn it horizontally. There's no right or wrong, whichever appeals to you. So we're going to, again, fold our card base, line up the ends, smooth it out. Okay. We'll adhere our chocolate chip layer number 1. Okay. Again, so it's got a 1/4 inch border. Okay. And we'll go ahead and adhere our Inside the Lines paper. Now this one has got the ferns and some of the leaves, a little bit of tree in the back. So I'm gonna stick this one down vertically. Okay, my adhesive there. All right. Okay, and then we've got some of these are the copper foil sheets. And so this comes in a 12 by 12 sheet. You get 2 sheets per pack. And then I've cut this down. Got my grid paper here. So this is cut to 3 inches by 4. Okay, 3 by 4 is what you'll need for the cluster of dragonflies here. And again, go ahead and I included the negative. And then you've got these. Now for these, we're going to want even smaller pieces of the dimensional. So before we use like a section of the edge, go ahead and even cut that in half. So we've got 5 little dragonfly bodies on there. So we'll go ahead and use those teeny tiny parts. And we're going to put them just in the center of the dragonfly bodies. And if they're poking out from the front, you can actually go ahead and mush them together, mold them a little bit so they don't show through on your finished card. Okay, yeah, so you really can't even tell. All right, so I would recommend coloring this first before you set this down. But again, you'll just peel off the backing of the dimensionals and that will go right on the front. So let me get out the watercolor pencils. We've got our cards here that all need some coloring. Now I'm not going to bore you and have you watch me color every single one of these because I'm sure you can come up with some pretty creative solutions. But in your watercolor pencils, there's a key on the back that's labeled them 1 through 13. And then on the pencils, we take them out here. I want the Melon Mambo one first. You can see it says Melon Mambo and it is number 9. Okay, so you can match those up if you want them in any particular order. I'm going to start here coloring a little bit of these beautiful peonies, or if you want to call them maybe beach roses, whichever you like. But my tip is to just outline portions of it. Maybe go along the edges. Okay, you don't need to color in the whole thing. because that is the beauty of the blender pens. Now these do come 3 to a pack, and they're double-sided, so essentially you've got 6 pens here, if I can get mine out. Okay, now this is kind of a fun solution that's in the blender pens that allows you to pick up the color, and it makes it look like you watercolored. So you want to start and just circle out from there. Okay, so depending on how much color you like. All right. Now the nice thing with these is that, while it adds a little bit of dampness to your paper, it's not going to bleed through, and it doesn't take long to dry. It dries pretty instantly. So now if you think that's not quite dark enough, not quite what you wanted, you can go in and add even more color to it. Make it even darker here. Okay, and then go over and color it again. And then I'll make it even darker. Now with watercolor, you don't have to color every single piece here. You might want to leave some petals lighter than others. Add just a little bit more in here. This one's a little too light for me. There we go. That's some color. Okay. And so you'll go on. Now, if you're changing between colors, just go ahead and scribble your blender pen off on some scrap paper. And then you can come in with the second color. I'm using the Old Olive. This is number 5. And I'll use that for my stem and my leaves here. I just like to do a little outlining first. All right, now these are pretty solid, so going in little circular motions, I will color some of this in because I do want them to be fairly dark. Okay, then you can go over with your blender pens, and look at that. It totally erases the lines, and it makes it look like I hand painted that. So pretty. And such little effort there. All right, isn't that beautiful? Yes, got my Old Olive. Okay, and I want just a little bit more green in there, so I'll add some back in. Okay, all right, again, scribble and move on to the next color. All right, so you'll go ahead and do that for each of your cards. These two are quite similar. Now with this one, because it is so detailed, you can go ahead and color each of those flowers in, or maybe you just want to do little portions of the flowers. So for these big ones, I'll show you my sample. I used the rich razzleberry here, and I really didn't take a whole lot of detail, but I just kind of colored them all in little circles, and then take my blender pens and then work out from there. Okay, so it depends on, yeah, how detailed you really want to be, but that's a little trick to get them done maybe a little bit quicker. But it's something fun. You can set these up and maybe color while you're watching TV, or need a little break, some downtime. But again, this is all 4 finished cards. We had our Melon Mambo, the Old Olive and Rich Razzleberry, the, oops, here it is, Bermuda Bay and Island Indigo, and then last but not least, the Tempting Turquoise with chocolate chip. Okay, and I promised you something special to do with these negative outlines, and I want to show you this fabulous card that I received in a card swap from another demonstrator. But what she did, she took the copper foil sheets just like this. So she cut hers a little bit bigger. This is a 3 3/4 by 4, and she embossed that, if you can see, with the softly falling textured embossing folder. And then she die cut, so she die cut the dragonflies out of that piece. Then she die cut another piece out of the black. So you can see how she put this here. And then if this were black, insert that into there as an inlay. And then she did a third layer with the sparkle, the glimmer paper that we have. And adhered it with the fine tip glue pen and tucked that down in there. So just a fun little idea of something you could do with these negative images, because they really are too pretty just to throw away. But another fun project. So I thank you for joining me for my first card class to go here, the video tutorial. And I hope you'll join me again. A little sneak peek, my card class for February will feature the Lift Me Up bundle with the Lift Me Up stamp set and the Up, Up, and Away thinlits. And here is one of the cards that we'll be making. So I hope you'll join me again. Thank you so much. Have fun stamping.